splashing in the shallow end. Well, hello, and a very warm welcome to this splashing in the shallow end. And can you believe we've got to episode 7? 7? No, I can't really believe it either. But anyway, you're very welcome to this video, whatever you're doing today. It's a beautiful, damp, dreary, dull summer's day here in Ireland. But whatever the weather is with you, I hope you're having a great day. I don't know what you tend to watch on TV. TV has changed in the way we watch things now. It's used to be you had to be in to watch a program, then video recorders came, you could video a program. But now with Netflix and Prime and Disney and all that other things, you can binge watch things. So what are you binge watching at the minute? Well, I'll let you know what I've been binge watching just at this point in time. And here's our first copyright notification. Yeah, it's not brilliant by any means. It's not brilliantly written, but there are the odd one or two good jokes in it and things like that. But one of the characters that always makes me laugh is a fellow called Donald Stewart. He and his wife Jacqueline come along every year to the hotel there, and everyone Donald meets, he thinks he knows them really well.
I'll handle this, Jacqueline, thank you. I can tell you now, we're not interested. Kenneth is a close personal friend of ours.
He thinks he has a personal relationship with everyone that he chats to in the pool area or wherever it is in the hotel. And what is a personal relationship? Well, normally we think of it as being a couple of people in a romantic relationship or a friendship or in a family situation or even in a work situation where you sort of can chat to somebody and they give you a bit of feedback. You can tell them what's worrying you and they give you a bit of sympathy or offer solutions or whatever it happens to be. So we know what a personal relationship is. We know it's different from a sort of acquaintance thing. It's a whole sort of back and forth sort of thing. So today's topic is really about personal relationships. Or to be more specific, can we have a personal relationship with God or with Jesus? Or rather, is it right to talk about having a personal relationship with God or with Jesus? And for many people of faith, they talk about having a personal relationship with God or a personal relationship with Christ. I mean, I'm not attacking anybody or not demeaning anybody in any way in this video. A lot of people I know who are the loveliest people on earth would describe their faith in terms of a personal relationship. So I'm not getting at anybody anyway. But in a religious sense, what that normally means is for someone to have what we call on the Protestant side of the fence, a quiet time, which is where you spend time praying to God, you spend time reading the Bible, trying to ascertain what God's message is to you. And that's normally done, or sometimes can be done in the morning and in the evening. And sometimes it's not just about going to church or even listening to podcasts or anything like that. It's about a time where you set aside to make personal contact with God. But is that the right sort of language to use? Is it the right way to think about it? But imagine this scenario. Say I want to tweet Paul McCartney. I'm a big Beatles fan, of course. So say I tweet him in the morning, and I tweet Paul and I tell Paul, here, here's what's happening today to me. Here's what things are worrying me. What do you think about this? Should I be doing this? I can tweet him morning and evening, and I never get a tweet back from him. Partly because I don't think he actually looks at his Twitter account, but either way, he doesn't reply personally to any tweets. And I suppose what I can do is I can say, well, I've asked Paul all these questions on Twitter. Maybe if I read some of the interviews he does in magazines or newspapers, I get the answer to my questions through that. But when you look at that, can you really say, I have a personal relationship with Paul McCartney? And there I am tweeting him morning and evening. There I am reading all his interviews, making sure I get to know them. But do I have a personal relationship with Paul McCartney? So maybe the phrase personal relationship with God or with Christ or whatever needs reworking. And here's why I think it needs to be done. You might remember that about 18 years ago, a little girl, Madeleine McCann, disappeared while on holiday with her family in Portugal. And there was a big search carried out for her by the Portuguese police. And there was no sign of her. They couldn't find her, or they couldn't find any traces of her body. And I'm sure the family, their parents, were absolutely distraught. I would be if I was in a similar situation. And about a month ago, there was more evidence or leads came up, and another search was conducted. And when you think about it, I'm sure people were praying that either Madeleine would be found and then returned to her family, or else they would discover her body and her family could conduct a funeral and get closure on the whole incident. But no matter how many people prayed, God never revealed Madeleine's location. To put it in a more personal sort of situation, the school I went to, one of the teachers there was a convicted paedophile, and he'd been abusing boys over a 20-30 year period and never had been caught until the 1990s. And while he was doing that as a teacher, he was also an elder in the local church. And it's always struck me as odd why God never said to anyone, to any of the other elders, who I presume in that church environment would have to describe themselves as having a personal relationship with God, why God never revealed to them that this was going on, that these boys were being abused. And there was a huge fallout to it. Many of the fellas suffered dreadful psychological trauma from it. Some of them turned to alcohol, some of them even took their own lives. And yet, over that 30-year period, God never mentioned to anybody that this was happening. Or either he was mentioning it to people, but people weren't listening because they didn't really have a personal relationship as such. That's the problem with this idea of a personal relationship with God or with Christ. And let's bring it back to the sort of real world, everyday version of a personal relationship. Say my friend.
Close personal friend.
Yes, close personal friend. Say he loses his wallet, but I know where it is. I've seen it. And he tells me about how worried he is about having lost his wallet, but I say nothing to him. And he tells me that he's going to have to phone up the banks and cancel cards, his credit cards and debit cards. And I know exactly where it is, but I'm not saying anything to him. And then he says about all the different people he'll have to contact, about direct debits, about things, all these other sorts of things that have to be done. Not a word comes out of my mouth. And then he has to go around and try and look where he thinks he lost it. So he goes back to shops, or he searches through the car, or he tears the house apart, sort of to try and find it. And I know where it is, but I'm not telling him. Do we have personal relationship? Can we say that? And that's why I think a rethink in terms of this phrase, personal relationship with God, maybe is needed. There's a story in the Old Testament, in Exodus, about Moses going to meet God. And the upshot of it is that God cannot meet personally, face to face with Moses. So instead, God leads him up the mountain, and it's only when God has left the scene, when you could only see the back of him, that Moses is allowed to look. And maybe that's how we need to approach this idea of not a relationship with God, but how we relate to God. Maybe you've seen my video on agnosticism. If you haven't, maybe give it a look. But maybe agnosticism is a way forward for this. And whilst we ourselves can have a very deep personal commitment to seeking God, maybe we need to be content with that. Content that we'll not know all the answers. Content that we'll not be told various important things that are happening in our lives or in the lives of those we know, but that we just have to reach out to God in a way that's true to us, that's personal to us, without being a personal relationship as such. So anyway, that was my tuppence worth on personal relationships. Thank you very much for staying with me if you managed to last all this distance, and hopefully we'll see you sometime soon. Okay, bye-bye.